Hey guys, it's me, Teacher Tiffani, and this is episode 2 of Q&A with Teacher Tiff. You guys really seemed to enjoy last week's episode, and I was so happy to see all of your comments, and I also was looking forward to this week's episode. Now remember, if you want to submit a question for me to answer, all you have to do is join the Academy by going to letsjumprightin.com and you can become my student and also submit a question. And remember, in the description, I have a special gift, a special offer for you. If you're not an Academy member and you want to try it out for the first month for just $1, just click the link in the description, letsjumprightin.com, and use the coupon code. All right, so for today, we have a lot of questions, and I am really looking forward to answering these questions. So let's jump right in. Our first question comes from, again, a student in my academy, from Chell. Hey, Chell, good to see you. All right, she says, Tiffani, we know that you studied and lived in Korea for quite a while. Can you please share some things about your journey with us? How were you able to study while you were working? How were you able to stay in the right mindset in the midst of preparing for an exam? And I want to know more about how we can also study and work and not get burned out. So, Shell, this is a very, very good question. So let me break things down a little bit for you all, because I'm sure that some of you have had the same question that Shell had. So again, I lived in Korea for 10 years. When I first moved to Korea, I was just a missionary English teacher. But the second year of my time in South Korea, I actually started to study Korean. Now, I was working full-time and also studying. So my second year, this is about 2010 when I was in South Korea, I would go to the university. They had a language program, and I would study from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in class. Now, prior to going to class, I got up around 4 a.m. and I'd study from 4 a.m. to about 8 a.m. Then I'd go to class from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'd ride my bike back to my apartment. I'd eat lunch, take a quick nap, and then I'd work in the afternoon from about 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Yeah, I know it was pretty hectic. For about 10 months, I did that. That's right. Every morning, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. during the week, and I'd go to bed around 10 p.m. So it was kind of a hectic schedule. But again, I wanted to learn Korean because I wanted to get closer to my students. But when I got to the level 4, I realized that I was not going to be able to work and study at the same time. So fast forward a little bit, God blessed, and I was able to get a scholarship from the Korean government. And this scholarship enabled me to study full-time. So that's why I got my master's degree in South Korea. So I guess this part of the story, some of you may have never heard before. So I want to fast forward to 2011. So in 2010, I was studying. After the 10-month period, I realized, man, this is a little bit rough to work full-time and also study at the level that I was at. So I stopped. I came back to America to apply for this scholarship. It was a Korean government scholarship, but man, this scholarship, they still have it, but it's so difficult to get the scholarship. I had to get a lot of recommendation letters. I had to write essays. I had to prove, why I wanted to study and prove that I would do well and prove what I would do after getting my degree. So anyways, God blessed, and I was accepted and I received the scholarship. And with the scholarship, it was a 3-year program. The first year, they would literally pay all of my bills to attend a language program at a college in Korea. So I could study full-time, study just the Korean language, and not have to worry about working. And they also gave us a stipend every month. So there was a period of time where I was only studying. Now, the 2 years, so the first year was just Korean language, and the last 2 years were for my graduate program. Again, the scholarship was awesome. So I chose to study art. I chose to study actually Oriental painting. So some of you know that I'm an artist, but I was very curious to learn more about Oriental painting. So for the last 2 of that 3-year period, I went to Seoul, which is Seoul National University, and I studied Oriental painting. Now, I want you to follow along with me, guys, because when I say I totally understand how you feel when you get frustrated when you're studying English, I understand. So I studied Korean and I could speak, and then I went directly into a graduate program. Now, graduate school in and of itself is difficult, but now I was in a graduate program in South Korea studying in Korean. Now, let me tell you about the program I was in. So it was a painting program, so we were learning about art. So it was very interesting, had amazing professors and amazing classmates. If you're watching, hey guys, 안녕하세요. But I had to learn about Chinese art history, Japanese art history, and Korean art history, all in Korean. And there was some hanja, like some Chinese characters. So it was not the easiest journey. But again, I loved it. I loved to paint. I loved learning new things. I think maybe you're also referring to Shell when I had my exam. And I think I told you all a little bit about my exam during a story time. It took me 3 times to pass. 3 times. So I went through that 2-year period, and in order to graduate, you had to take an exam. All right. Now, you may hear something in the background, but we're just going to keep going. It's the car outside. So I had to take an extremely difficult exam, and the exam included some hanja. It included questions about art history. And again, all of this was in Korean. I studied for 6 months. So the test was only offered once every 6 months. So if you failed, you had to wait 6 months to take it again. Remember, I told you I took it 3 times. So it took me 1.5 years to pass this exam. Now, once I got to this point, I had basically finished my scholarship. The money wasn't coming in anymore because the scholarship only lasted for 3 years. So in the midst of me preparing for this exam, I had to start working again. So I started working and I was preparing for an exam in a language that was not my own, about a topic that was super difficult, even in English. So the frustrations were real. Now, Shell's question was basically, how was I able to manage? So if I were to give you some points, guys, first, I am a Christian. I prayed, and I prayed. But second, I also organized my time. Because I had to work and study and prepare for my thesis, which was also in Korean, I realized that there are only 24 hours in a day. Sleep is very important. So I set aside specific periods of time that I only studied. For example, I'm an early bird. So I would study, for example, again, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'd study. That time was only for studying. I'd cut my phone off, I cut my computer off, and I'd only focus on studying. Then I would go to work and I'd only focus on my students. Once the work was done, I'd come back home and I'd study some more. So when you have a busy life, and even for you as you're studying English, maybe you have families, maybe you have children, or maybe you're married and your husband or your wife, you have a lot to balance, but you still need English. My biggest tip is for you to set aside a specific time for certain tasks. If you try to mix everything together, that's when frustration sets in. So the end of the story is, after 3 tries, I was finally able to pass the exam. God is good. I thanked him. And again, I learned the importance of staying organized and not getting overwhelmed. It was overwhelming, I'm not going to lie, but being able to not go crazy by having set periods of time or set chunks that were for specific tasks. That helped me a lot. So great question, Shell. Great question. All right, now let's go to our next question again. And this one is from Roberto. Hey, Roberto, good to talk to you. What do I need to do in order to stop thinking in Spanish when I'm speaking in English? Roberto, actually, I think last week's video will help you with that. Remember, last week's video, I talked about how to think in English and actually practice. And I mentioned the importance of the 5 W's. You see, your brain needs an opportunity to practice because for the last 30, 40, or 50 years, You've been thinking only in Spanish. So your mind has had opportunities to collect chunks of information in Spanish. So when you speak, you're able to grab those chunks and put them together to form sentences, and your ability to make these sentences is easy because you have so many chunks. Now, in last week's video, I explained when it comes to English, what you now have to do is retrain your brain to organize chunks of information in English. So you can do that. Again, you're a member of the Academy, so I have part 2, and I give you the book, and I give you other images to practice with. Get images and start practicing. Okay, who is in this image? What's going on? Where are you? I don't know if you guys can hear the plane behind me, but there's a plane flying overhead. So if you can hear it, someone's flying somewhere. All right. So again, sorry, Roberto. So you need to gather these chunks of information and you need to practice. Now you can do this alone. Find pictures, look at them. Who's in this picture? What are they doing? Where are they? When was this happening? And why was this happening? Start storing these little pieces of information, these chunks, and I guarantee you'll start to think in English more while you're speaking instead of thinking in Spanish when you're trying to speak in English. Great question, Roberto. All right, number 3, we have from Barney Christ. Hey, Barney, good to see you here. All right, Barney says, I would like to know, what's the best country to learn and practice English in? Barney, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not about the country. Now, again, I'm American and I'm proud to be an American. So as you all know, English is spoken in America, but English is also spoken in England and many other countries. But your question seems to revolve around which country can I go to and guarantee that my English will be perfect? And I want to say this, Barney, it's not about the country. It's about your goal. It's about your desire and your diligence. Are you going to be diligent enough to study English? Now, what I will say you can do is if you want to get the American accent, right? Then watch videos with Americans like me speaking in English and copy them, mimic them. You can learn just like a baby. A baby just takes in information that it sees. Do the same thing. Even if you can't go to a specific country, especially with the situation we're in right now around the world with this pandemic, you can still watch videos. You can still watch movies and dramas and soak up the culture. Take everything in and then practice what you've learned. Great question, though, Barney. Great question. All right, so let's go to question number 4. Ramila, hello. When did you start speaking Korean? And is it possible to speak without being in the country where the language is being used? P.S. You are my inspiration. Oh, thank you, Ramila. I appreciate that. Your question, Ramila, seems very similar to the question that Roberto had about the country connected to the language. So I'll answer the same way. It's not about the country. It's about what you want, what your goals are. You did ask, when did I start speaking Korean? So again, I answered it in the first question, but I started studying in 2010, and I'd say I got fluent and very comfortable maybe around 2013, 12 or 13. And I say comfortable as in I can travel anywhere around Korea by myself and not be nervous. Again, if I get dropped in a country town where there are no other foreigners and I have to find my way around, I'm comfortable enough. So I'd say around 2013-ish, around that time. All right. Great question. Okay, next we have Heba or Heba. Hey, you said I would like you to prescribe an educational remedy in order to overcome your difficult problem, which is, you forget a lot when you're talking to someone and you forget how to follow grammar rules. Okay, so it seems like the main issue is you're having a problem with forgetting. Like you get in the moment and suddenly the words don't come out. So I remember when it comes to grammar, I don't teach grammar, but I always refer students to this grammar book. And just like that, I forgot the name of the book. Here we go. Grammar in Use. Grammar in Use. All right. So in that situation, guys, there's an expression we use in English where I just forgot. It slipped my mind. Like I suddenly forgot. It slipped my mind, okay? Or I forgot to do something. All right, so, but your question is about forgetting. Now, again, I experienced this when I was studying Korean, and I found that when I was around individuals I was extremely comfortable with, I didn't forget. But when I got around someone who I was a little bit nervous to be around, or I thought they may have been judging my ability to speak in Korean, I would forget then. Suddenly, words would not come to my mind. So when it comes to forgetting, many times it's a dealing with confidence. It really is dealing with confidence because you are intelligent. Hiba, you are very smart. You're learning a second language. So when you forget something, it's two things. Either you're feeling a little less confident around the person that you're speaking to, or you need to practice more with the things that you're learning. So again, as students watch my lessons, as you watch my YouTube lessons, and again, seeing that you're in my academy, you also watch a lot of my resources and my lessons in the academy, okay? But you have to practice. The more you practice, the more it will be, the easier it will be for you to use what you've learned. Practice does make perfect. And it's kind of like you form these triggers in your brain and it becomes a pattern and a habit for your brain to actually produce the words or the expressions or use the patterns that you've learned. So again, practicing and seeing what's actually happening in the situation when you forget. Are you nervous? Are you feeling less confident? Or is it just a matter of you needing to practice more what you learned? Okay, great question. All right, here we go. Next we have Peterson Cleus. Good, I saw you last week. Good to see you, Peterson. Hello, my favorite teacher. Hello, one of my favorite students. If I follow you every day and apply your method at 80%, how many years will it take me to speak English very well? Now, I'm laughing, Peterson, because I've received this kind of question before from a student. Teacher, if I do this, can I be fluent in a year? Now, I totally understand where the question is coming from, but this is how I will answer the question, Peterson. Don't put a time on your fluency. And let me explain. You see, again, I'm American and my native language is English, but I am learning new things each and every day. Language is constantly evolving. Languages, no matter where you go, are constantly evolving. So I want you to see your English learning as a journey as opposed to a destination. You're going to constantly be learning. What I will say is, if you have a specific goal, for example, by the end of the year, you want to be able to speak for a 10-minute period with a native English speaker and not feel nervous. That's a more specific and a better goal to have. So if you follow everything that you're learning with me, everything in my academy, my daily English email lessons and my YouTube lessons and Instagram lessons, even just at 80%, I can guarantee you'll reach your goals. Here's the thing though. Following does not just mean watching. It means watching, writing notes, practicing, watching again, and practicing again. So remember, it's not just about one time like, ooh, that lesson was good, Teacher Tiffani. Watch it, enjoy it, practice it, and then do it again until it becomes natural for you and more comfortable for you to use what I have taught you. Okay? Great question though, Peterson. Great question. All right, so here we go. Let's go to the next one. Valeria. Hey, how are you? All right, Valeria. Hi, Teacher Tiffani. Who is a person who gave me the Bible for the first time? Okay, so I think Valeria's asking me, when did I get my first Bible? Now, I've been a Christian my entire life, so my parents gave me a Bible when I was probably 2 years old. But I will tell you about 2 Bibles I received, and I will never forget the individuals who gave me these Bibles. First, my parents are very close to a couple, and they're kind of like, I call them aunt and uncle, even though we're not blood relatives. We're super close to their family. And before I went to university, I mentioned to them that I wanted a small pocket Bible. I loved leather pocket Bibles, and they gave me a small pocket Bible, and I took it with me to university. Loved that Bible. And the only reason I don't have that Bible anymore is because it fell apart after like 15 years or so. It lasted for a long time. That Bible was very special because it was small, it was pocket sized, and I was able to study a lot with that Bible. And as I grew closer to God when I was in school, that Bible was very integral, very important to my journey to getting to know God more. Now, the second Bible was given to me by a lady at my church. And this is when I think I was in my last year of university. Can't remember the exact year, but I was trying to get deeper into the Word of God. I wanted to understand God more and understand what His will was for my life. And there was a Bible. There's a woman named Ellen G. White. And Ellen G. White, it was a commentary Bible. So it was the King James Version plus Ellen White's commentaries. Now, if you've never heard of Ellen White, there's a book that she wrote called The Desire of Ages. Whew! If you want to understand Jesus more, oh my goodness, that book right there, it's called The Desire of Ages. And so she wrote that book, and that book was a blessing to me. So I really value her as a writer and her inspiration. So the woman bought me a Bible that included Ellen White's commentary in it. Man, I love that Bible, and I still have it. So those two Bibles remain in my mind. So great question. Great question. All right. Let's see. The next question we have. Iklas. Hey, Iklas. Good to see you. Iklas is one of my VIP students. She says, do I teach kids? You know what, Iklas? When I was in South Korea, I did teach kids. I had kids in the afternoon, and I had adults in the morning and the evening. I love children. I think you all can tell that I'm very passionate about teaching, but I also have a very, I like to have fun. So I love kids. However, at this present time, I'm only teaching adults. Now I have a few students in my academy that are younger, like, 18 or 17. I think I have one 15-year-old, but I don't teach children. And I think it's because it's a different way of teaching. And right now I'm focusing on intermediate and advanced English learners because I feel like there are things that you all need that you're not able to find online right now. You need to help with getting a better job or improving your English, even though you're at a certain level. With children need more of the basics, which again, I love kids. I love interacting with children as well, because kids, they're so lovable. I remember when I was in South Korea, quick story. All right. When I was in South Korea, I had many different classes, but I remember this one class. They were literally my favorite class. And this is when I was teaching in Yongin. So anybody from South Korea, I used to work in Yongin. And the kids, I think it was a group of about maybe, was it 20 kids? There were 20 kids in the class. And they were kids. They were about 6. I think the oldest may have been 7. 6 and 7. So again, children are children no matter where you go. But again, at this point in time, I could speak Korean. So I was able to really get close to the kids very quickly, because if there was a point in time during the class where I needed to explain something to them and they weren't understanding, I could very quickly switch to Korean, and suddenly they started to connect to me. Now, just to explain a little bit about Korean culture and American culture. So in America, again, I'll say African Americans, we are very contactual. We are very loving. We like to hug. We like to be together. Koreans are also loving. They like to be around each other. They don't necessarily hug as much as we do, or they're not as contactual, but they do. They're loving. They want to help you. They want to give you food. Food is amazing. So anyways, in this class, again, because of my personality and I love children, I have this kind of maternal instinct. I always wanted to hug the kids, or if they were hurting, I kind of wanted to let them know, like, hey, I'm not your mom, but I can be your mom in class. So after about, I think maybe a month's time, I could see the kids opening up even more. So if I walked in the classroom, they'd say, hey, Teacher Tiffani, and they'd run and they'd hug me. And then again, they're children. And since they knew I could speak Korean, before class started, they would go a mile a minute telling me what happened at school that day, all in Korean. Teacher, this happened, and then this happened. Again, I'm saying it in English to you, but it was all in Korean. And it really made my day, because children just need to be loved. Children want to feel that you care about them. So I loved the class. They loved me. They learned well. There was no problems. So I really enjoyed that time. So I don't teach kids now. Who knows? Later on, whenever I get married and I have children, I may add that aspect to my business because of my kids later on in the future. But right now, I only teach adults. Great question, Nicholas. Great question. All right. Our next question is, we have Roberto Fantasia. It's a different Roberto. He says, I don't have a real question, but I just desire to tell you that your smile opens up my lungs. I'm so grateful for your academy and lots of love for you. Oh, Roberto, thank you so much. I don't think you all realize how much I truly, truly appreciate and love you all. I think about you in the morning, throughout the day, and in the evening. And these little messages, they really warm my heart. So Roberto Fantasia, thank you so much. And I love you all too. All right. Next, we have Victor. What's going on, Victor? Victor says, hey, Tiff, what's up? He says he's Brazilian. It's very hard on a Brazilian guy to get a job in the U.S. Thank you so much for helping us with your videos. Okay, so he's bringing up the fact, and I think he's asking me, is it hard for a Brazilian guy to get a job in the USA? Now, keeping in mind, of course, the current situation we're in and how no one can really fly or out or in, let's say all of this was all better now. So getting a job in America. Now, again, Victor, you're in the academy, so I want you to check out the ebook I have on how to pass an English interview. That's going to help you when you do decide to come to America. You need to read the ebook because I'm telling you there are certain interview questions that are different in America when compared to other countries. Getting a job. So my advice whenever someone wants to get a job in America, first, be comfortable. You need to be confident when you're speaking in English. So even if you're an intermediate or advanced English speaker and if you start speaking like this, no. You need to get confident in your abilities. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. Own your mistakes and keep on moving. Like, I'm sorry, let me start again. And then continue to talk. You see, confidence is very important whenever you're going to an interview and working in America. My advice is you need to study American culture. Again, you can tap the resource, go to the resource in the academy where I talk a lot about different aspects of American culture. Again, study the book, How to Pass an English Interview, which is also in the academy. And I'd say whatever your field is, start reading books in English about your field. Because there are going to be certain terms and expressions related to your field. And if you are aware of those terms, it will help you get a job in America. So great question. Great question. And I think our last question is from Bonel Eustache or Bonel Eustache. I like your name. What do you love the most about God? Man, great question. You know what? I'll say this. I love how much God cares about me and how much God protects me. I think his protection and his love. And I say that because it's because of his love that I want to help other people and I want to love other people. So I think if I were to sum it up in a simple sentence, how much he loves and cares for me. There are people that believe that God just created the world and was like, boop, boop. All right, you just do what you do over there. Do what you do. That's slang. Do whatever you want. I'm not going to mess with you. Do what you do. All right. Again, if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram if you want to learn some English slang. So some people believe that God created the world and just said, do what you do. I don't care. My hands are off. But my understanding of God, according to the Bible, is that, yes, he created the earth, but just as much as a parent, like a mother or father loves their child, God loves us the same way. And understanding that every morning when I wake up, every day when I eat, every day as I'm going through my day and working and realizing, man, God woke me up this morning. Man, God cares about me. And man, the same way I love you all, God loves me. Woo-wee! You can't tell me that God's not real. So again, thank you for that question, Bonnell. I want to know, how about you? Why do you love God so much? And what is it about him that makes you happy? All right. Well, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I love answering your questions. Remember, if you want to ask me a question, you need to join my academy. And all you have to do is go to letsjumprightin.com. Don't forget to use the coupon in the description area so you can just try it out for 1 month. Again, I know you're going to want to stay, but I want to give you a gift the first month for $1, but you must use the coupon in the description area. Thank you so much for the questions that were asked. I really love and appreciate you all, and I can't wait to talk to you next week. Have an amazing day.